What time is it? Say it's time for KP's Video News. KP's Video News. It's KP's Video News, y'all. It's KP's Video News, y'all. That's right. It's time for KP's Video News. That's what I'm talking about. And this case has been going on for years, and they finally had some arrests done. And it's federal prosecutors yesterday indicted two men in the 2002 murder of Jam Master Jay, the former DJ from the famed rap group Run DMC. And the killing was among New York's most notorious unsolved murder cases. And Carl Jordan and Carl Jordan and Ronald Washington were indicted on murder and drug-related charges in the fatal shooting of the DJ, whose real name was Jason Mizell. Prosecutors said the killing was in cold blood and described it as a drug-related homicide. If convicted, Jordan and Washington face a minimum of 20 years in prison and a maximum life sentence or the death penalty. The defendants allegedly carried out the cold-blooded murder of Jason Mizell, Grandmaster Jay, a brazen act that was finally caught up with them thanks to the dedicated detectives, agents, prosecutors, and snitches that never gave up on the case. Acting U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. According to prosecutors, Mizell was at his recording studio in Queens on October 30th, 2002, when Washington and Jordan entered the building, where Jordan allegedly fired two close-range shots at the DJ. One of the shots struck Mizell in the head, killing him. The second, prosecutor said, struck another person in the leg. Prosecutors said the investigation revealed that the murder took place after Mizell acquired 10 kilos of cocaine from a Midwest supplier and informed Washington that he would not be distributing the drugs in Maryland. And the gunshots rang out in a recording studio in Queens nearly 18 years ago, taking this pioneering rap artist's life, and the questions have finally been answered. Mizell left behind a wife and 3 children. He was a member of the 1980s group Run DMC with Joseph Run Simmons and Daryl DMC McDaniel. And so this case is finally solved. Run DMC, and he was killed by Carl Jordan Jr. and Ronald Washington. They have been indicted on murder and drug-related charges and in the fatal shooting of the DJ. After all this time, they finally solved the case. And here's another crazy situation that happened in New York, and crazy. I mean, you got a couple charged with throwing feces and shooting pellet guns at a neighbor's a black neighbor's house in Long Island, New York. Valley Stream, Long Island, New York. Police have arrested 2 white suspects on Long Island following racial harassment allegations from a black woman who lives next door. Authorities announced the arrest of 57-year-old John McEnany and his girlfriend, 53-year-old Mindy Canarick. Let's see. And the couple is charged with harassment, criminal tampering, and criminal mischief for allegedly throwing feces and shooting a pellet gun, causing the neighbor to live in fear. The sign on Jennifer McLagan's door broke my heart and rallied a community to her aid. It also moved my officers to investigate this matter because nobody should have to live in fear of harassment from their neighbors. Nassau County District Attorney Matt Lissinger said, "Today, following a comprehensive review, investigators from my office arrested and charged these defendants because of a pattern of intolerable conduct that cannot be left unchecked. I hope that this prosecution and the order of protection issued by Judge Prager today afford Ms. McLegan and her daughter the security they deserve, and I am grateful to the advocates and leaders who collaborated with our office throughout this investigation. The allegations got big attention and community support when Jennifer McLegan, a registered nurse working on the front lines dealing with the coronavirus, and a mother of a 2-year-old child, placed a giant poster outside her door last month in Valley Stream listing the harassment. And it stated that if I die in here, at least cops would see the sign, she said. D.A. Singus and the victim said the victim moved into a Valley Stream home while pregnant in April 2017 and immediately began to be harassed, allegedly by the offendants. The alleged harassment continued until July 2020. So that's a whole 3 years. Police initially said McLegan and the neighbor filed complaints against each other, but there was not yet any evidence of criminality. At this time, we do not have any evidence of any bias, said the Nassau County Police Commissioner. But that does not mean that it's not there. We have to do more work to do. The section of Valley Stream has become more diverse over the years. Other residents of color said the same neighbor harassed them too when they first moved in, but not to this extent. There's no arrest, no restraining order, McLegan said back in July, so they're kind of waiting on me to drop dead in here before they can help me. And so finally, those people got arrested and they got a restraining order placed upon them. And hopefully, this lady, man, can just live her life and just do what she has to do. I mean, it makes no sense, man. It makes absolutely positively no sense for somebody to just go through that. And see, if one thing though, and I have to say this, if it had been a man living at that house, those two cowards never would have harassed this woman. This is a woman with a child, with a baby. And so I'm saying, if it had been a guy living there with her, strong black brother living there, nope, they wouldn't have said a word, not one word. As a matter of fact, they probably would have already moved by now. And this is breaking news. It's breaking news here. The Postal Service will suspend cost-cutting changes until after the election, the new garbage postmaster says for the USPS. Under fire from congressional Democrats, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy announced today he will suspend several cost-cutting initiatives in an effort to avoid even the appearance of an impact on election mail until after the election is concluded. DeJoy was already slated to appear Friday before the Senate to testify on mail delivery delays and service changes that lawmakers and others warned could imperil the November elections. Among the things DeJoy assured were retail hours at the post office would not change, mail processing equipment and blue collection box will remain where they are, no mail processing facilities will be closed, overtime has and will continue to be approved as needed, and the Postal Service is ready to handle whatever volume of election mail it receives this fall, DeJoy wrote in a statement posted in the USPS website. Even with the challenges of keeping our employees and customers safe and healthy as they operate amid the pandemic, we will deliver the nation's election mail on time and within our well-established service standards. Earlier Tuesday, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney hosted a day of action over the Trump administration's actions with a morning rally in Union Square. Take your feet off our necks. Allow us to process the mail as we have done, said Yvette Johnson, Vice President of the National Postal Mail Handlers Union at the rally. Thank you for requesting that the Postmaster General be made to answer for all of his draconian changes that he is trying to implement. The House is set to vote Saturday on a measure of which Maloney is a sponsor that is expected to include $25 billion in new funding to shore up the agency and to stop planned changes. She said she has reservations as to whether Trump will sign the bill, but she's hopeful, and I think he would have to if the American people speak out strongly. She said, "It's outrageous. Why in the world would you want to slow down the mail? We want to speed it up. We want to fund it right now. President has refused to fund it, and he's come out against the post office because it will enable voting by mail. This is outrageous. It's totally outrageous." And funding for the UPS has suddenly become a major campaign issue, with Democrats accusing Trump of using the Postal Service to sabotage the election. It's a claim the president denies instead and without proof, linking mail-in voting to widespread fraud. And you have to get voting right. And so, got to get it done. The controversy began after July 10th Trump administration memo called for restructuring and eliminating overtime to save money. The change was proposed by DeJoy, who was also a Trump campaign donor. The agency, and so it's like the post office slowing down mail and hurting millions of Americans. And it's like people rely on the Postal Service for their medication, for checks, for bills, for mortgage payments, for their car note payments. It's just a million things that the Postal Service does and people rely on that. You got old people that live in nursing homes and stuff, and they rely on those little pictures and cards and stuff from their grandkids, and that just gives them something to look forward to, man. It's just like this, what they're doing is totally a load of crap. It's a load of crap. So, like I said before, it's a direct sabotage of the U.S. Postal Service. And so right now, as a result of what, the ineffectiveness of Trump as far as being the president is concerned, his ineffectively and his garbage callousness, you got mass layoffs and furloughs have led to more Americans unsure about how they would put food on the table. And it's, all the way across country, man, you got people, man, that are going to shelters. They're going to shelters and they're going to food banks by the millions. So 54 million people in the United States will face food insecurity in 2020, according to Feeding America. The hardest hit groups are Black and Latina households, as well as low-income white individuals. And food insecurity is nothing new in the United States, but the coronavirus pandemic has exacerbated the problem. Mass layoffs and furloughs have led to more Americans unsure about how they will put food on the table in the coming months. The pre-pandemic study showed 37.2 million people, including 11.2 million children, did not have adequate access to nutritious food to live a healthy life. Based on the data from that study, Feeding America estimates the number is likely grown by 17 million, including nearly 7 million kids. These disparities are drawn between strong racial and economic divides. In the U.S., Latino residents are 2 times more likely to suffer from food inequality than their white counterparts, and Black residents are 2.5 times more likely to suffer than their white counterparts. This goes hand in hand with food deserts, which are more common in areas like with the large Latino and Black population. It's not new. Even though with COVID-19 we've seen an increase in food insecurity overall, it seems like people of color again are disproportionately impacted. And 8 of 10 counties with the highest food insecurity rates, more than 60% Black. And Jefferson County, Mississippi, will experience the highest rate of food insecurity this year at 34.2% and 33.9% respectively. This comes after the county didn't report a single case of coronavirus until after May 1st. Mississippi has some of the lowest unemployment benefits in the United States, and the average $213 a week. There's also no sign of relief coming soon, and the federal unemployment benefits of $600 lapsed at the end of July, and Congress has not signed a deal on a new stimulus package. So there's a lot of people out there starving, man. I mean, it's really starving. And so, I mean, I guess it's up to just the average, everyday person to do what they can to help feed your neighbor. And we got to do that. We got to do that because we cannot, as you can see, we cannot depend on the government because, you know, Trump is delaying and stopping everything. You got Mitch McConnell and the Republicans over there. They won't come to an agreement with the Democrats on this deal. Democrats have had a deal on the table for going on 4 months now, and Republicans won't sign off on it, talking about $600 if you give the people $600. They're so lazy they won't go back to work. And right now, to hell with all that. You got people that need to pay their rent, they need food, so it's going to be mass evictions, starvations, and before you know it, you push people too far. Who knows? You never know what a hungry person might do. So, all right, in this story, here's the last story of the day. You had a black teen that was told to cut his dreadlocks by a Texas school, and he won his court ruling. That's right. A federal judge in Texas has blocked a school district from enforcing a dress code policy that prohibited a black teenager from keeping his dreadlocks. And Judge George Hanks of the U.S. District Court in Houston issued a preliminary injunction late Monday that will allow Caden Bradford, 16 years old, to start the school year with his dreadlocks and without being confined to in-school suspension. The ruling against the Barbers Hill Independent School District, high about 30 miles east of Houston, means that Caden does not have to endure an unjust and educationally damaging in-school suspension simply for having uncut dreadlocks, which are an immutable part of his black identity and cultural heritage. And the NAACP fund represented Caden in the request for the preliminary injunction. The firm Aiken, Gump, Strauss, and Howard also represented the teen pro bono. Caden and his cousin DeAndre Arnold, 18, who also wears his hair in dreadlocks, made national headlines in January after they said they were told they would not be able to allow to return to classes at Barbers Hill High School unless they cut their hair. DeAndre graduated in May, but was prevented from participating in his graduation ceremony because he refused to cut his dreadlocks. The family sued, alleging that the district's policy on hair unconstitutionally discriminates on a basis of race and sex and violates students' rights to freedom of expression. The preliminary injunction comes in advance of a final ruling on the federal complaint. Caden has shown a substantial likelihood that his rights under the Equal Protection Clause in the First Amendment will be violated if his motion for a preliminary injunction is denied, and he has additionally shown that he will receive either inferior instruction or no instruction at all if his motion is denied, the court ruling states. Prior to the court decision, the school district intended to confine Caden to indefinite in-school suspension and exclude him from school activities such as a band program unless he cut his dreadlocks. The spokeswoman for the school district did not immediately return a request for comment, and DeAndre was a senior at Barbers Hill High School and said the school would not allow him to walk at graduation because of the length of his hair, and his story drew support from Ellen DeGeneres and Alicia Keys, who surprised him with a $20,000 scholarship on the Ellen Show. And DeAndre also attended the Oscars as a guest of Matthew Cherry, the director of Hair Love, and actress Gabrielle Union and her husband, retired NBA All-Star Dwayne Wade. The couple were producers of the Academy Award-winning short film. Officials in the majority-white Barbers Hill district, which has nearly 5,400 students, have said that the high school allows dreadlocks, also called locks, but has community-supported policy governing the length of male students' hair. This dress code states male students cannot have their hair gathered or worn in a style that would allow their hair to extend below the collar, earlobes, and eyes when let down. Caden's mother, Cindy Bradford, has said her son, like DeAndre, has worn locks for years. Last year, Caden would wear a headband to keep his locks off his shoulder, and his mother said the school told her that if Caden kept them pulled back, he would not be in violation of his hair policy. But the policy changed in 2019, December 2019, midway through Caden's sophomore year, to restrict the length of his hair when it was let down. Bradford stated that she believes the hair policy is racist. African Americans make up 3.1% of the school district's population in 2017-18 year. Caden and DeAndre filed grievances on January 27th, contending that the district's dress and grooming policy was discriminatory, construed, and enforced. On July 20th, the school district's board of trustees unanimously voted not to change the grooming policy, and so discrimination against black students who choose to wear natural hair is highly damaging to their well-being and success. And as our lawsuit against the school district continues, we will work tirelessly to ensure that Caden and all children no longer have to endure a racist and sexist dress code and a draconian grooming policy. So hey, congratulations on that. Keep your locks, boy.
KPVIDEONEWS.
That's right, folks.
KPVIDEONEWS, y'all. It's
Peace.
KPVIDEO.